Welcome to the Make and Design podcast. I'm your host, Carina Gardner, and today we're going to talk about what is really working in 2025. This has been a very odd year. I'm going to tell you that for designers in general. And so I think that this little episode will help you understand kind of where I think income is coming from based on the hundreds of designers that I currently work with in our university program, in our design suite program, and what I think is going to continue to work in the future. Okay. Every year is a little different, you guys. You see some transitions among things, but I hope that this will help you understand where I think income is really coming from designers who are really working from home. And at this point in time, I do think a lot of designers are choosing that way. They are contractors, they are working from home, they like that remote aspect, and really they aren't necessarily needed in the office. This is a really great thing for most designers as they, get to work from home. Okay. Now, that being said, the first one I'm going to start out with when it comes to income is if you are looking for absolute steady income like tomorrow, working in-house at a corporation is always going to make the most income right away. Not the most income over time or even the most income usually in the first year. But if you are just like, you know what, I just need to make money right now. If you can work for a corporation, go for it. Now, 2025 has been a little weird. First quarter was down in many of the sectors. And so those jobs were really hard to find. Most of them do require some kind of degree. Most corporations want a bachelor's or a master's degree. If you're in a creative direction, master's degree is really what they're looking for. If you're looking just to do graphic design in-house work, usually a bachelor's or a BFA is necessary for that kind of work. Okay. Now, most people don't know me for, telling you to go work in-house. It's been interesting over the years. When I was making a transition from Cartabella, working there, and I was not working in-house, I actually, even though I was in the office a couple of times a week and meeting with the sales team and meeting with the CEO, I actually was a contract worker and had a really interesting and weird setup where all the designers worked for me. At that time, I was ready to transition out into my own company. At the time, we had started Mini Lou, and I just needed the time and energy to go build that company. So what I did was started talking to the CEO about, possibly bringing in some in-house designers at that time. And he really wanted a couple of designers that we were able to negotiate salaries for. It was interesting because they went from contract to in-house, but when you are doing contract work in that way, in-house can sometimes be a really good thing because of that steady income. So that's why I want to talk about that, because I know I don't often talk about corporate work, but especially those of you who are getting degrees, that might be of interest to you. There's actually a lot of good things that you learn from working in-house at a corporation that is very hard to learn sometimes when you're just doing it on your own. And that is like kind of clientele structure, like the way they think about things, the marketing aspect, because they have to make money, right? And so you end up really thinking a little bit more like that, which is a pretty interesting and cool thing. Now, if you're like, you know what, Carina, I love the other stuff you teach. I love working. I want to continue to work from home. What's really working in 2025? As always, and what we teach in our own programs and the way that, we really are able to shoot people off and blast them off to really doing great work is online platforms. Online platforms are still working. A lot of people have been freaking out about them and feeling like, oh, I'm not sure if they're working the way I need them to work. Like, dude, they're still working. There is nothing wrong with online platforms. If anything, people who have better brands are seeing, even though they see the roller coaster financially, we know that there's seasonal things going on. I actually think that those that are sticking in there and holding on and doing good work are the few. They're the minority. So those of you who are listening to this know that you're in the minority and know that you should not give up on anything happening online. That is still my number one way of making income as a designer. And especially my residual income from all of those things have still been very profitable for me. So, online platforms are not going away, you guys. It's still really, really working and still a really, really good thing. All right. Secondary income to that I'm really loving and seeing a lot of right now is any kind of affiliate work with design work that you're selling. So for me, you guys know that we sell courses, right? So that's totally separate from my design work. So let's talk about SVGs. Okay. So I sell a lot of SVG files, so die cutting files, right? That I've designed, and they still sell. I still make quite a bit of money. We see sales every day from many of our platforms, you guys. So if you're not seeing sales every day, it means that one, you're not really catering to the market. Two, your design work probably needs to be up leveled. Three, you might be in a market product category that is not working. Okay. Those are the things that we're always looking for in our designers to see if, there's an issue, and that's why they're not making money. Okay. Okay. So, when I'm looking at my own stuff to make sure that the design work is still making money, okay, I also like to pair it with something else that will help make it money. And there are lots of different ways to do that. And one of them is affiliate. So for SVGs, for example, I have affiliate links with many of my companies so I can push or drive people to those places that I'm already selling my design work. So it's like a double-edged, amazing sword, like the kind of sword that you want to have, where you're stabbing at something, you're selling your design work, and then you're also getting a commission off of it, okay? There is nothing wrong with this. If anything, it is so incredible because it's like every designer who's contributing to the whole of that platform is making some money doing it, which is absolutely incredible. There are so many also affiliate sites out there that really work very nicely. So just, keep an eye on that, because I think that's something that as designers, we should be leaning into a little bit more. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to tell you about that is really working, that I am seeing with people, is what I call long-term steady contracts. Now, I like freelance, like the next girl. I like, doing a job, moving on, doing another job, and so forth. But there are lots of companies who are looking for graphic designers for the long term. These opportunities come from word of mouth very often, and usually with a little bit of experience. But even one of my coaches has a gig like this, where basically a company just sends her all of this contract work, and she just takes care of it and sends it over back into this company. These long-term contracts, I think you're going to start seeing more and more and more of them versus corporations bringing in full-time graphic designers, because it makes a lot of sense for them. They have a contract worker who is doing graphic design work. They're getting billed or paid per project or for time, which makes a lot of sense. And so corporations are really loving this. I think we're going to see more and more and more of this, not just in this year, but as we move forward, especially as graphic designers want to be at home and they don't want to be in-house. So they get to have this contract work. And then you build a long-term relationship with that company to do whatever design work they have or need. Now, this is happening at the corporate level, but it's been happening for years when it comes to other companies like fabric companies, right? So I have a long-term contract with Riley Blake until I decide I don't want to work with them anymore. And I can turn in projects to them that they may or may not take, right? Same thing, except for usually it's done with a corporation who has a number of different projects, okay? These are like my favorite ways this year. I will say that freelance has been a little tough this year. I'm not seeing as much of it. I'm also not seeing it as much of it in terms of like how much money you can make off of it. And I think that's partially due to AI. I think that people are going to the different softwares out there like Midjourney, which by the way, are you seeing they're currently getting sued? Midjourney, Adobe AI, Firefly. I think that people are going for their initial ideas and going to those platforms for those initial ideas, and then coming away and hiring a graphic designer and telling them what they want to do. I know it's a lot of small businesses who can't afford a graphic designer anyway. So a lot of the money, I think, is coming from these online platforms, from affiliate, and then also from these long-term contracts from bigger companies who need graphic designers that are willing to do contract work for them. So lots of really good stuff here, you guys, and lots of different ways to make money. Of course, there's even more ways to make money, but these are the things that I think are really working right now. If you've loved this and you want to learn more about becoming a designer, I cannot recommend enough coming and checking out our next design boot camp. You can join that at designsuitecourses.com/design bootcamp. Can't wait to see you there. Want to hang out more? Go to designsuitecourses.com/free to get our weekly freebies and patterns, die cut files, and more. Can't wait to see you there.